The season finale of The Umbrella Academy left us with a lot of burning questions. We're going to unpack the first season and look at some theories about where we think season 2 is headed. Warning to those of you who didn't binge this series like we did, spoilers ahead.
Nice to see nothing's changed.
That's it? That's all you have to say?
In Season 1 of The Umbrella Academy, we follow the lives of the adopted children of Reginald Hargreaves as adults. These siblings all have something in common. They were born on the same day from remarkable, spontaneous pregnancies all over the globe. They were believed to possess extraordinary powers, so Hargreaves found and adopted 7 of the 43 babies who were born on that day. His motivation seemed to be to save the world, and while he seemed to care deeply about mankind, he didn't seem to have any love at all for the children he adopted. This caused them to grow up emotionally stunted and estranged from one another. All of the siblings seem to be unique and special except for Vanya, who is played by Ellen Page. Vanya was always told by her father that she was ordinary. She was not allowed to participate in the missions with her brothers and sister. She grew up feeling invisible, but that turned out to be Hargreaves' biggest trick of all, even bigger than a bogus 4-year trip to the moon. And we're still feeling for Luther on that one. So the big reveal in season 1 is that Vanya actually does have powers, and the Hargreaves kids have to escape the apocalypse she causes by jumping through time with 5. That leaves us all dangling from a major cliffhanger from the season finale. There are plenty of questions about what's in store for season 2. We dug up a few pretty interesting theories as to what's in store for the Hargreaves children in the next season. Here are a few ideas. So if you already binged the first season of The Umbrella Academy, you know that they had discovered what was responsible for the apocalypse that 5 jumped through time to witness. Turns out Vanya is the cause of the apocalypse. Apparently, even though she was made to believe that she had no powers as a child, Hargreaves was lying to her all along. He decided that Vanya's powers were too powerful, so he made her believe she was ordinary.
I'm afraid there's just nothing special about you.
Then he gave her medication to suppress her powers and had Allison use her powers of persuasion to make Vanya believe she was ordinary. But during the last episode of the season titled The White Violin, Vanya reveals just how extraordinary she really is. The only way the Hargreaves kids can escape the apocalypse she causes is by jumping to some unknown time with 5. So where or when did they go? And what will change as a result of their time jump? One thing that the show points to is the change in their bodies. When they're about to jump through time at the end, 5 warns them that their appearances may change, just like him. 5 knows all about that. He jumped through time when he was 13 years old and wound up in the post-apocalyptic future. He couldn't jump back in time, so he was forced to live out his days in the ash and rubble. He was so lonely he fell in love with a mannequin whose upper half was untouched by the destruction. Then 5 went on to join the commission and worked with them well into his 50s. But when he was finally able to jump back to the point where our story takes place, he transformed from a 58-year-old man to a 13-year-old boy. Yet he still retained all of his knowledge and wisdom. Okay, can we just pause and appreciate Aidan Gallagher for a moment? The 15-year-old actor had to play the part of a 58-year-old man who knew of an impending apocalypse and could hold his own with actors twice his age. Kudos. Anyways, since 5's body reverted to that of his 13-year-old self, it's likely that the other siblings will become their younger selves too with this time jump. That would be an interesting direction.
Oh, what the hell, I'm in.
Yeah, whatever, I'm in.
Me too.
It doesn't seem likely that they would suddenly stop using the powerhouse talent of the older actors, especially Ellen Page and Robert Sheehan. So will they jump to another time period as their adult selves? If so, what will happen to 5? Will he become his 58-year-old self again? Or will they somehow justify him still being a teenager while his siblings remain adults? And what time period are they going to jump to? We know that the goal of the Hargreaves clan is to stop the apocalypse by helping Vanya learn how to control her powers. If she learns how to control her powers, she won't cause the apocalypse later in the future. So it makes sense that the gang would time jump back to earlier in their childhoods. Now, we don't have a lot to go on about the rules and specifics on time travel, so who knows how this is going to work. It's leaving fans with a lot of questions. For example, if they do jump in time to a point in their own timelines, will they cause a paradox? If it doesn't completely disrupt the space and time continuum, does that mean we'll be seeing double in season 2? Will there be 2 5s, 2 Luthers, 2 Vanyas running around? And what does this jump mean for Ben? We only see him as a spirit who hangs out with Klaus for most of season 1. From what we gather from his scenes with Klaus, he must have died as an adult. He comes to Klaus as an adult, so if they all go back in time, will they go to the time before Ben lost his life? And that begs the question that since they're fixing the apocalypse, could they also fix Ben's death? Maybe they can rig it so he lives lives and can move on with the rest of his siblings. So then, maybe the Ben who follows Klaus around isn't his ghost.
You know, you don't have to do this alone.
But the adult version of Ben who survived as a result of his time-traveling siblings. That would justify the fact that Ben is the only one who can communicate with Klaus when he's high. He has to sober up in order to communicate with any other members of the deceased realm. But is it even possible to stop the apocalypse? From what we know from the Commission, there are some events that are just meant to be. It seems that this apocalypse is one of those events. When Five starts working for the Commission again, he is strongly discouraged from messing with the future apocalyptic events. Yet he still tries to negotiate a deal in which his siblings will be saved. So is the apocalypse set in stone? Will it even be possible to stop it? Season 2 will likely be headed to the same endpoint as Season 1. We all know the apocalypse is coming, the same way we did in Season 1, but we're viewing it from a different angle this time. And will the Commission be trying to stop the Hargreaves gang? Even though Five blew up a lot of the Commission, his boss did say he was just another cog in a wheel. So it's likely there will be other agents of the Commission hunting them down. They may need to enlist the help of other extraordinary individuals. Do you guys remember the beginning of Season 1? They introduced the story by saying that 43 babies were born on the same day at the same time to unsuspecting mothers all over the world who had not been pregnant at all that morning. They say that Hargreaves was only able to adopt 7 of those children. So what happened to the other 36? Did they see the heroic acts of the Umbrella Academy and decide to remain anonymous? If so, it would be interesting for these characters to emerge in Season 2. Maybe they had parents who wanted to protect them and who kept their powers hidden to avoid exploitation. If that's the case, there's a chance that these mystery kids are even more powerful than the 7 in the Umbrella Academy. If they are well-adjusted adults who came from loving families, they are already far better equipped than the Hargreaves children, who seem to self-sabotage every chance they get.
She is a liability.
So what other powers are out there? And it must not be a coincidence that these babies were all miraculously born on the same day with extraordinary gifts. Maybe they were born with the sole purpose of stopping the apocalypse, even if one of them did cause it to begin with. So back to time travel. When exactly are they going? Well, one theory is that they'll travel back to the 1960s. The reason we think this is because the comic books that the show is based on are set in an alternate timeline in which JFK was never assassinated. That's because Five was supposed to assassinate JFK, but then he time jumped to the Umbrella Academy instead. The Umbrella Academy comic book series, Dallas, centers around the assassination of the late president. So if they draw on Dallas at all for the second season, they will most likely have to include the JFK storyline. But maybe they'll focus on the upcoming comics, Hotel Oblivion, instead. They may choose to focus on some villains who have been banished to a place called Hotel Oblivion by the Academy in the past. There's an evil dude named Perseus, who is this rich CEO who is after revenge because the Academy imprisoned his father. And there's also Dr. Terminal, who is mentioned in Episode 7. According to fans, he is the closest thing the Academy has to an arch nemesis. The Academy may have to fight some old demons and enemies in Season 2. In the first Umbrella Academy comic book series, Apocalypse Suite, Vanya's storyline is a lot different from the show. In the comic, Vanya is invited to play the violin for this orchestra that wants to destroy the world by playing this piece of music called the Apocalypse Suite. Because she harbors a lot of resentment toward her family, she decides to join the orchestra. Then the conductor does all these insane experiments on her, brainwashes her, and turns her into this supervillain named the White Violin.
You hear the music? It started.
Then Five shows up behind her and shoots her in the head. She winds up paralyzed and has amnesia after that. Things went down a little differently in the show. In the show, it was Allison who fires a warning shot near her head, causing her to focus her powers up toward the moon. Then she blows a big chunk off the moon, which rains down a bunch of meteors, and eventually that huge piece lands, wiping out the entire world. So maybe they'll sort of follow this storyline in Season 2 of the new show, and give Vanya amnesia. That would make it easier for her to be fixed by her siblings, minimizing the chance that she'll blow up the moon and subsequently the planet. We may also get to the bottom of Reginald Hargreaves in Season 2. We got a glimpse into his backstory in Season 1, but he's still a mystery. In the comics, he's an alien with a magic monocle that allows him to perceive the truth about others. Showrunner Steve Blackman said we're going to learn more about Hargreaves later on in the series. Steve Blackman also confirmed that yes, those are spaceships shooting up from the ground. Because of this, it's pretty safe to say that Hargreaves is probably still going to be an alien on the show. This could explain his lack of human empathy and compassion. And what about Allison and Luther? Will their relationship grow in season 2? Many are wondering if their relationship is illegal since they're adopted siblings and they grew up together. It kind of toes the line between appropriate and inappropriate.
You look great.
They have always known each other as brother and sister, yet they have this innocent, sweet attraction to one another. While they were called family by their father, they weren't really raised as a normal family. After all, their mom is a robot. They were forced to do training drills and were forbidden to talk during mealtimes. So their family was anything but normal. It only makes sense that they would cling to each other in this abnormal, dysfunctional family. We expect to be seeing a lot more of the relationship in season 2. What do you think we can expect in season 2 of The Umbrella Academy? Do you think it will follow the comics or veer into a different path? Tell us in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to The Things for our latest videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time.